Hello, welcome back to the Jet Press Podcast. My name is Justin Fried, and I'm joined, as always, by my good friend, Mike Luciano. Mike, I'm in a pretty damn good mood. I don't know about you, but I feel like today is a great day to be a Jets fan. And it has been a long time since we've been able to say that. The Jets, over the last 48 hours, have extended, I would say, their two franchise cornerstones in Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner. How are you feeling, buddy?
I'm feeling as good as I can for a season that's probably not going to have a ton of wins, but the Jets finally did something that we have been begging for months and months and months. They signed not only Garrett Wilson
Yep.
to an extension. I thought they were going to do that and then just leave it. They also extend Sauce Gardner the day after. So two big extensions in 2 days, both of them well into nine figures. One of them makes Gardner the highest paid player at his position in the history of the NFL. We'll get into that. We'll also kind of get into Darren Mougey because this has been a pretty good first offseason. Now, obviously, that our opinion can change depending on how many games they end up winning based on some of his moves, but all we can do is analyze what we've seen. And from what we've seen from Darren Mougey, there's a lot of good things to say. But before we get into all those things, you know where you can find us: Apple, Google, Spotify, Overcast, wherever you get your podcast, we are there. And you can subscribe on YouTube. That really does help. Liking the stream, it does help. And if you want to donate a membership or just subscribe, it's only 99 cents. You could be like our man, Austrian Jet fan,
Dude,
who will get a shout out in perpetuity for 50 memberships he donated
ridiculous.
last stream. Thank you so much. If you want to be a real, or just have some good karma, you feel good about yourself, 99 cents a month, you can help support us, make some more good content. Let's just let's get right into this because we got two big extensions to deal with. Let's start with Wilson first.
Sure.
It's the bigger one in terms of money, and it happened first, so Garrett Wilson first. I don't want to use a particularly crude analogy because, we got some new subscribers after the last couple of weeks. Let's go alienate them by being crass. Garrett Wilson, in these negotiations, he had the Jets by the balls a little bit.
All right, sure.
What are you going to do without me offensively? You have Josh Reynolds and Alan Lazard in the short term, and you may take a quarterback next year. You may not be able to use a top pick on a wide receiver. The wide receiver class every year keeps getting thinner because there's fewer and fewer high-end wide receivers that hit free agency because of extensions and franchise tags. So the opportunity to get a top wide receiver without drafting, especially for a team like the Jets that's clearly rebuilding, and they're not going to trade a bunch of picks to get a top wide receiver, the chances of them getting a Garrett Wilson are very slim. So he said, what are you going to do if you don't sign me? Imagine what will happen to your fan base and your momentum within the fan base if one of the first things you do is get rid of Garrett Wilson, who has been a good soldier for this team, said all the right things, values the right things, working hard, wants to win. Sounds cliche, but you value those things in a guy who's going to be on a losing team and a guy who has been through quarterback hell. I mean, Aaron Rodgers was the best quarterback he's had in his career by leaps and bounds. And, there's been some problems with Aaron Rodgers lately. But Garrett Wilson, my goodness, every year he's been in the league, 80 catches, 1,000 yards. You look at the list, this stat's been shared very often among Jets Twitter, but the only other guys in their first 3 years to do that in the NFL are Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Odell Beckham Jr., and Michael Thomas. So if you're in categories like that, I think that shows kind of how the Jets value Garrett Wilson and the kind of talent he is with the Jets. This had to get done. We were talking about 4-120 kind of being the sweet spot that went for 4-130, which pays him now more than A.J. Brown and makes him like the number 5 wide receiver in the league in terms of average annual value, which he wasn't going to reset the market. He wasn't going to get CeeDee Lamb prices or Jamar Chase prices, Justin Jefferson prices, but this is a good deal for everybody involved. He's out of that top tier. It's a little more than I thought they would pay, but what the hell is $2.5 million extra a year for a guy like Garrett Wilson? Like, do you really care that much? I don't. I'm just happy he's locked up because the Jets never do things like this. They never draft guys this high at positions like this and then have them develop into guys that can be extended. I mean, Quinnen Williams was, for the longest time before Quinnen Williams got extended, the Jets only gave one first-round pick a second contract. That was Muhammad Wilkerson. And he was a defensive player. So when was the last time the Jets picked an offensive player, a skill position player this high, and then extended him? They never do that. And they've finally done it with Garrett Wilson.
it wasn't even just first round picks. Like they had barely extended any draft picks over like a 10-year span. I'm pretty sure for a while it was Brian Winters, who, by the way, weirdly shout out today is Brian Winters' birthday. Don't ask
They're
why I know
like the
that.
Knicks. Remember, wasn't there, I believe, between RJ Barrett and Charlie Ward,
Hey,
they didn't sign any first round picks to a second contract?
hey, watch it with the Knicks slander, but accurate, fair, totally
My
fair.
team is the Nets. We're not winning anything for 10 years, so I'll slander as much as I want.
Yegor was
Yeoman,
Jemin. Is that your pronunciation?
Yep.
Yeoman? Yeah, he's all right. But yeah, no, it was Brian Winters, and then they extended, I think, Quincy Enunwa, and that was like basically it in terms of multi-year extensions given out the Jets draft picks. I mean, when they re-signed Nathan Shepard to a 1-year deal, it was like, whoa, they're re-signing a draft pick to a second contract. This is rare, and it was Nathan Shepard. So to now see what they've done with these first-round picks in recent years, and honestly, Mike, we all knew that the Sauce Gardner deal was going to get done, or at least we all assumed that a Sauce Gardner extension would get done this summer. And that was not something that even you go back 6-7 months ago, no one would have been surprised if you said the Jets extended Sauce Gardner in July. That was not the case with Garrett Wilson. You go back 6-7 months ago, it might be easy to forget now. The narrative was very different. There was a real concern that Garrett Wilson had played his final game with the Jets, that he was frustrated.
There were legitimate trade rumors from legitimate sources.
Absolutely. He was frustrated with losing. He was frustrated with the dysfunction. He did not particularly like the quarterback who was on the Jets at that time. And not we don't need to rehash the entire should they or should they not have brought back Aaron Rodgers discussion. But I think this certainly lends credence to they shouldn't have, because I think if the Jets do bring back Aaron Rodgers, I am absolutely not confident that Garrett Wilson is extended. And I'm absolutely not confident he's on the week 1 roster. But it's the testament to this new regime, to Aaron Glenn, to Darren Mougey, to the fact that they were able to not only smooth out the situation and get Garrett Wilson to buy in enough to not request a trade, but buy in enough to extend a contract. I mean, they completely salvaged and repaired that relationship in 6 months. That is an awesome job by this new regime. And when we talk about Darren Mougey's first offseason in a little bit, that's going to be, in my opinion, the biggest thing that he's done, right? For lack of a better term, the most positive change that has happened under Darren Mougey. Garrett Wilson is everything an NFL team should want in a franchise cornerstone. Not only is he a superstar talent, he has had 3 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons to begin his career, despite the fact that he's played with 8 different quarterbacks. And on that list of 8 different quarterbacks includes the likes of Chris Streveler, of Tim Boyle, of Trevor Siemian. I'm not even saying Zach Wilson, because somehow he's not even in the bottom 3.
Zach Wilson had to be, 70% of his games?
And somehow Zach Wilson isn't even in the bottom 3 of quarterbacks that have thrown passes to Garrett Wilson. I'm not even mentioning a guy like Mike White, who is somehow in the top half of that list.
Like Terry McLaurin, but even worse quarterback somehow.
Yeah. Those are the quarterbacks that Garrett Wilson has had throwing him passes. And despite that, he has had 3 consecutive seasons of 1,000 yards to begin his year, 3 consecutive seasons of 80-plus catches. He joins, like you said, Mike, the only other players in NFL history to do that: Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Odell Beckham, and Michael Thomas. And I guarantee you, all 4 of those players had significantly better quarterback play, significantly more stable offenses. They weren't having Nathaniel Hackett and Todd Downing calling plays. They had probably better offensive lines in some of those
Justin
situations.
Jefferson's Kevin O'Connell. Compare Kevin O'Connell to Nathaniel Hackett.
Garrett Wilson has been able to produce at a superstar rate in the ESPN poll that just went out of polling NFL execs and scouts. Garrett Wilson was the top 10. He was the number 10 wide receiver in football. He's been able to do all of that despite having abysmal quarterback play and roughly the worst situation you could imagine for a wide receiver. And despite all of that, and despite him still putting up this production, he's decided he still wants to be with the Jets. Despite the losing, despite the dysfunction, I think lesser men would have folded in this situation. Right. And I would not have blamed him. If Garrett Wilson requested a trade after last year, how many Jets fans would have blamed him? You're sure there's some that are like, he's going to be on the side of the team. And I get that. It's a fan.
Jamal Adams, look what happened with that.
But anybody, right, look around the league. You think anybody in working in the NFL, covering the NFL, what if you had
advocated for
if Garrett Wilson was like, people were advocating for it. And so the fact that the Jets are extremely lucky that they have a player like Garrett Wilson, and they're even luckier that Garrett Wilson wants to be a member of the New York Jets moving forward. Both Garrett Wilson and, as we're going to talk about momentarily, Sauce Gardner are locked up under contract with the Jets through 2030, and I hope both ends up being Jets for life, because this fan base deserves it. And we waited a long time to see cornerstone players like this drafted by the team, retained into their second contracts. they both were acquired within a few picks of each other. I am over the moon and ecstatic about
Cisco
these two.
Agostini says, all the money is well earned for both of them. I'm happy and excited. Time to pay our homegrown players. Well, that's the thing, too, that Darren Mougey's trying to instill is he's trying to find players that are worth paying, because that was the other problem, is that the Jets just never had guys worth extending. Now they do. And we mentioned this before. I wrote an article in the Jet Press about something similar where I'm glad that Darren Mougey, not that he caved, because I don't think he caved, but Joe Douglas was famous for, this is my price. I'm going to stick to it. Eventually, you're going to come crawling back to me and hit this price kind of thing, which it was very unearned, that sort of organizational arrogance from a guy who really didn't do anything at that point and didn't even have a winning season in 6 years with the Jets. Garrett Wilson is now – I'm happy that he didn't do that, though. I'm happy that he eschewed a Joe Douglas trait. He is currently 13th in the Jets' all-time receiving list already in these 3 years. If he gets maybe – would 1,200 yards be a solid year for him, you think? Yeah, it'd probably be good.
Yeah, given that they're going to be a run-first team, absolutely.
If that happens, he would move into the top 10 all-time, past Keyshawn Johnson, Rob Moore, underrated player for the Jets, and Rich Castor, move into the top 10. So that's already the kind of headway he's making in the Jets franchise annals. All the great receivers the Jets have had, obviously.
They've actually had some, like Don Maynard, Wesley Walker.
Those are 3 of the top 5. Let's see if you can name the other 2. The top 5. Don Maynard is 1. Okay. Wesley Walker is 2 in terms of yards. Wayne Corbett is 3. Al Toon is 4.
Yeah.
You're missing 5.
I'm missing 5. Who would have played long enough to do that? Because obviously it's not going to be a Santonio Holmes. Obviously, it's not. I'm just thinking of talking through names here. What is it before 2000? After 2000? Oh, after 2000.
It is Lavernius Coles.
Oh, okay. The 2 stints.
Yeah, because he went to Washington for Santana Moss and then he went back.
Yeah.
That's what it was. So, those are the top 5. And if he stays healthy for the length of this contract, I can't see a world where he's not in the top 5, or at least on the cusp of it.
Oh, absolutely. I think in terms of catches, he can, if he plays his entire career at the Jets, I think he makes a run at Maynard. Yards
touchdowns,
is going to be tough.
He's only got 14 because of the quarterbacks. Don Maynard is 88. That's going to be tough, but
yeah, I think catches he can probably make a run at Maynard if he plays his entire career at the Jets, which is still a big if, but it's a lot less of an if now that he's under contract at least through 20.
Now let's talk about the other one, which I'm probably happier with this one. I'm happy about both, but Sauce Gardner, who I don't know what kind of Jedi mind trick, whoever convinced people on Twitter that Sauce isn't good anymore. Oh God, I mean, Justin, I know I've seen some people where even when you're presented with stats and numbers, they go, I don't want to see those numbers, or I'll take those numbers into account. I don't care.
Yesterday, I was reminded why I don't tweet out Sauce Gardner stats, which, by the way, shout out to Stefan Stelling. He had, I believe, a lot of those stats that they ended up using. He's of Jets X Factor. He did a really good job compiling those stats. But, yeah, I just tweet out those stats and immediately met with Broncos fans telling me, they don't matter. Like, oh, I can't believe you're using PFF stats. Those are bullshit. You're the first person that's ever said Pat Surtain had a bad, down 2023 or whatever. Now I'm doing quotes. But, listen, I just – we don't got to get into the whole Surtain Gardner
because you didn't even mention Surtain for a lot of it. That was the thing.
Yeah, if you are an NFL fan and you think that Sauce Gardner does not deserve the contract that he received, I am revoking your ball
left, right, good night. I am sorry.
Right, I don't want to.
You could even argue Stingley or whatever. Like, fine, that's your opinion. You can't any opinion that you have that says he's lower than 3rd or 4th. You can't take seriously. That's the floor on Sauce Gardner as an NFL quarterback right now.
And again, there are absolutely valid criticisms of Sauce Gardner. He is not a perfect player. He undoubtedly had the worst year of his career in 2024. I don't think anybody is going to
allowed the fewest catches.
He still allowed the fewest catches. I'll just give out some of these stats again via Stefan Stelling. He's the one who compiled these stats. Sauce Gardner, since entering the league in 2020-22, so 3 years he's had.
Counting the bad year, quote unquote.
Including the bad year, he ranks 1st among all cornerbacks in PFF grade, PFF coverage grade, catches allowed per game, yards allowed per game, yards allowed per coverage snap, and completion percentage allowed. He's also 3rd in passer rating allowed.
Without a lot of picks, he's 3rd in passer rating allowed.
Right. That's a huge part of it too. And how anybody could look at those stats. And yeah, he's not a good tackler, especially compared to someone like Pat Surtain, who is he's an incredible tackler. Pat Surtain did not miss a tackle last year, which is honestly insane for a starting cornerback to not miss a single tackle. He's an awesome player. He gets more interceptions too. But despite those flaws, if you look at those numbers of Sauce Gardner and you don't think he is at least a top 3 cornerback in the NFL, you are blindly hating. Like, you do not know what you're
from. That's what I don't get.
It came from the fact that people saw his name as Sauce Gardner and he went to a New York team, and there were a couple of viral clips of it looked like he was holding or whatever, and he somehow gained correct, but he somehow gained this reputation as a rookie in his rookie year that he holds and gets away with it and never gets called.
2023 New York Jets to be good. I mean, come on.
Right, exactly. And so when 2024 happened and Sauce Gardner had the worst year of his career, remember, dude, after 2023, there are still people saying Sauce Gardner was never good or wasn't good in 2022 or 2023. It was first team All-Pro. Mike, there are 3 defensive players in NFL history who have been named first team All-Pro.
Really quick, is your audio behind again? We got some comments. Oh, man.
Dude, is it behind again? Dear. Hold on. I'm going to leave. Keep vamping. All
right, let's vamp for a little bit. I'll vamp about Sauce Gardner for a little bit. I'll get to a comment from Mike Zimmelman that'll help me vamp for a little bit. Sauce has an ex-cornerback as his head coach. Garrett's GM being an ex-wide receiver makes me feel good about the negotiations heading into the spring. It did too. Like, this is a deal where we were talking about how at the most, I think $30 million was going to be the ceiling because that's what Stingley got. We didn't know if he would get what Stingley got at the end of the year, just because Stingley I think Sauce is probably in totality better, but Stingley was better last year. And then he gets the 3 years, so a shorter deal with more money. I'm like, 30 might be a little rich. Like, I could see them matching that deal or doing what they did with this contract, which was giving him like 1 more just so nominally he's the highest paid. I could see them doing that if they give him a 3-year deal. I was actually kind of shocked at the 4-year, $30 million a year deal. But also, if anybody deserves it, it's Sauce Gardner. And I know there's 2 schools of cornerback thought, where the first one is the Asante Samuel, you need Marcus Peters, picks reign supreme, be a little bit of a gambler kind of guy. Those guys might look at this deal and go, ha, stupid Jets or whatever. Then there's the other school, I guess more the Darrelle Revis school. Maybe that's why the Jets, because we saw it with Revis too, where like he has much better ball skills than Sauce right now, but also Revis never was like leading the league in picks or piling up 6 every year because nobody was throwing at him. Nobody was throwing at Sauce. If you really want a good example of how good Sauce is and why this contract is valid, there's a chart of, I believe Ian Harditz put it out. And I saw this. Wide receiver yards allowed and wide receiver touchdowns allowed. And there's this big cluster up at the top right, which is everybody. And then the Jets are way down here. And I know that includes Michael Carter and that includes DJ Reed, but Sauce Gardner is the straw that stirs the drink here. And really the only reason you could probably argue he had a down year, isn't funny how some of his worst games came after they lost Robert Saleh? Isn't that funny? I don't know. Now, as Mike Zimmelman mentioned before, you have an ex-cornerback head coach in Aaron Glenn, who I thought did an okay job with. He didn't really have a ton of great cornerbacks in Detroit. He got them kind of at the end, and then they all got hurt, but you were seeing kind of what Aaron Glenn could do when he has actual cornerbacks. Now he has Sauce Gardner locked up for 4 years at $120 million. I have to imagine Aaron Glenn's doing backflips right now because he knows I could just line him up. We're going to have him shadow more guys this year because that was a big thing. A big criticism that they always levy against Sauce was, oh, he doesn't shadow the number 1 guy. What's that? Richard Sherman didn't shadow the number 1 guy either? I don't want to hear it. That doesn't matter, but apparently it matters for Sauce. They're going to have him do that, and he could say, I could just take that guy out of the game. And that's such a huge luxury for a brand new coach to have on a bad team. Mm-hmm. This is a deal that Jets fans should be thrilled with because I think he's the best probably individual player in terms of talent that they've had since Revis at any position.
Yeah, I think that's completely
valid. He's better than Quinnen. I think he's better than some of the linemen like Nick Mangold or anything like that. Not counting like Alan Faneca at the end of his career where he was Hall of Famer. Right. It's purely what they've shown. I think prime Sauce right now is the best player they've had at any position since prime Revis, deservedly extended.
Well, he's the first player that they've had since C.J. Mosley, who is the highest paid player at their position. And C.J. Mosley was great, but I don't think he was the best linebacker in football when the Jets had him. I think other than Revis, like who have the Jets had in the last, literally in the 21st century, who's been the best player at their position? Darrelle Revis. You could argue Kevin Mawai was probably the best center.
Quentin Williams was never undoubtedly, but also
he was in a discussion, but they had Aaron Donald.
Yeah, Aaron Donald. I guess you could say, well, such a historically good. He might be the best defensive player ever. Outlier.
Sure,
you take him out, maybe, but that was only for like a year or two. Sauce, we got 3 years of data, and he's only going to get better.
Yeah. But there's a couple questions about who we think the Jets are going to extend first. Before we get into that, I want to talk about as well the hidden value. By the way, it looks like the sound is good. I think I know what the issue is, Mike. When I click off into a different tab, Restream completely messes up, and I don't know how to fix that. That's a Restream problem. I will just have to not click into other tabs, so that sucks. But the hidden value of this, and others have pointed this out on social media and in articles as well. Both of these deals, both the Garrett Wilson and the Sauce Gardner contracts, do not kick in until 2027, which means both players are going to finish out their rookie contracts, not just their 4th years, but their 5th-year option. They are finishing out their entire rookie deal plus their 5th-year option, which is why the Jets have both of them under contract through 2030, which is so far in the future. That is, an eternity away.
Be at 2030?
I don't know, man. Is the NFL going to be around in 2030? What if the UFL is rivaling the NFL in 2030?
Are they going to play the London Jaguars in the AFC Championship?
The Jets will be the London Jaguars, and
London Jets just bought Crystal Palace. Yeah,
right. But no. So essentially, both this Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner extensions, they might as well be 6-year contracts. They're not, they're 4-year contracts, but they're functionally 6-year deals where the Jets now have 6 years of team control on both players. So if you really, this is a little bit of, technical math here, but if you take into account what both of them are making in 2025 and what they'll be making in 2026, the average annual value of both contracts goes down significantly. They're both roughly around $25 million. If you average out what Garrett Wilson and what Sauce Gardner will be making per year between 2025 and 2030, it's around $25 million a year, which is an unbelievable bargain. And especially by the time 2027 comes around and those extensions finally kick in, especially looking at the wide receiver market, the
league neighbors will get paid more, and Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to get paid, and all
Brian Thomas.
There's going to be so many quarterbacks. Christian Gonzalez might get paid more than Sauce.
Absolutely, and there's going to be guys coming into the league too. There's just going to be those markets, especially the wide receiver market, are going to continue to explode. So by the time we get to 2027, I know Garrett Wilson right now is 5th, I believe, or 4th in average annual value, and I think he's 5th in average annual value and 4th in guarantees, or it's 4th and 3rd, one of the two. But those numbers, they already don't look amazing. They don't look terrible now. They're going to look like even more of a bargain come 2027. So I think that's a really good piece of business by the Jets, having these extensions kick in a couple of years as opposed to kicking in, next year.
It looks like kind of an inverse of the NBA, where the NBA always increases your money year over year.
Yeah.
You look at the 4th year of these deals. I think Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is going to make $78 million one year, which is absolutely absurd. The NFL, it used to be for quarterbacks where we used to call it like the Baker Mayfield deal or the Geno Smith deal, where quarterback's not good enough to probably win you a Super Bowl, but also not bad enough to get rid of. It's like 3 years, $100 million with most of it up front. That seemed like for a while, that's how you took care of those quarterbacks. That contract structure seems to be popping up across the league more now, where we'll give you a bunch of the guarantees up front and a bunch of the money up front, because it seems like that's what's going to happen with Sauce and Garrett. Some of their more expensive years are going to be now when the Jets have nobody and they're not paying a franchise quarterback, and they're going to be in their prime years. And then later, when they allegedly get quote-unquote better, we hope, they're not as indebted to those two contracts and they can add pieces elsewhere. So it seems like this sort of style is the new NFL meta in terms of extending your star players.
Yeah, which is go for it.
Let's move on to Mike Zimmelman's questions. I think this is a good one. 3 extension candidates are next: AVT, Brees, and Jermaine. Of those 3, who do you get extended first? I think you listed them in the
I would also throw John Simpson in there too.
Simpson, yes, but of those 3 that you listed right there, of the homegrown guys, I think you got the order right there. AVT's got the injury concerns, obviously, but seems like with this front office, what they prioritized and what this offense is going to prioritize, they really want a good offensive line. It's so much harder to find good offensive linemen nowadays. So I think they're going to hold on to AVT, I think, as long as they can, if he's good this year. If he gets hurt again, who knows? We might need to reconsider. But
I'd also
17 games, I think he's number one.
I'd put Quincy Williams in there too, just as a guy who's on an expiring deal. I'm not positive. In fact, I'd go out and say I don't expect them to extend Quincy Williams after they gave Sherwood his contract, but he's also in that conversation of very good players in the Jets who are on expiring deals. I mean, Jermaine Johnson isn't on an expiring deal. He'll be just, he's extension eligible now. But I believe they picked up his 5th-year option, so he'll be under contract through 2026. But yeah, it's really hard to say for those 3 guys specifically, because I think so much depends on what happens this year. I know this is kind of a cop-out answer, but I think this is how the Jets are approaching it. The Jets are not going to consider extending any of those guys before the season. I don't think there's any reality where any of those players receive a new contract before the year starts. Possibly, if one of them, if someone's playing well, maybe there's a midseason extension. I think of all those guys, the most likely to be a midseason extension would be Elijah Vera-Tucker or John Simpson. I think either of those guards, they're question marks for different reasons. One, Elijah Vera-Tucker, it's obvious. While I have pushed back on the narrative that he's injury prone, because I think it's a little bit silly. Like, he's had 2 major injuries, but they've been completely unrelated and complete freak accidents.
Yeah, but you got to count them.
You count them, but it's not like a situation where it's like, oh, Mekhi Becton, he's had recurring knee injuries. Oh, well, now.
And Mekhi Becton just didn't have the body. Like, the body you knew was going to be a problem. Because
nothing about Vera-Tucker. Like, he's had 2 major injuries, but I don't think that makes him more prone to future injuries is what I'm trying to say. Now, if 2025 comes out and knock on wood, I mean,
I think really quick, I think we found a way. Instead of calling people fat, we're going to go, I think the body's a problem.
Like, I think you're the one who's been saying. I don't think I've ever said. I think that you're the one. You never.
I think we hit some gold ore here, man.
The body's a problem. Yeah. Well, for some players it is. But yeah, I think with look, Elijah Vera-Tucker again. God forbid this happens. Knock on wood. But like, if he comes out and tears Achilles in 2025, okay, now he tore his Achilles twice. Absolutely, yeah. Like that. Now he's more prone to future injuries of that kind. Like, I am absolutely concerned about this. But I don't think he's had I believe it was torn triceps and then the torn Achilles. I don't think he's more prone to injuries necessarily than the average player. At least I don't think we have definitive proof of that. If 2025 he comes out and he kicks ass and he stays healthy, you absolutely extend him. I don't even think it's a question mark. The other question is with John Simpson, who, look, I've been on record saying this. I watched John Simpson early in his career when I was covering the Raiders. He was bad. Like, unplayable.
Terrible, actually.
Unplayable levels of bad. Was horrific. Goes to the Ravens. Is okay, is the weakest link on that O-line, either him or, the ghost of Ronnie Stanley, but he was okay. He was a starting caliber player. And then the Jets signed him to a dirt cheap 2-year, $12 million contract. And I didn't love the deal at the time, but I was like, look, if he's your worst start on the offensive line, if he's the weakest link, that's okay. He comes out in 2024 and maybe he was their best offensive lineman. He was awesome.
One Keith Carter success story is
right.
John Simpson.
He was fantastic. So you have 1 year of production from him. If he comes out and does that again in 2025, yeah, I mean, you probably have to consider extending him. It's interesting, though, because you have both of your guards that are going to be free agents at the end of the year. Not a lot of teams pay 2 top guards high-end money. I don't have the numbers in front of me, and I would love to click to another tab, but I think my audio will mess up if I do that. But I did write an article about this recently, about how the Jets might have to make a decision between their guards. I'm not saying they will have to. They could keep them both. But there are just very few teams that pay 2 top-end guards. I know the Bears do it. They're one team that does it. I believe the Packers, if you want to include
the Bears just did it recently.
Right.
They can get out of that if they need to.
Right. I believe the Packers, if you want to include Elston Jenkins as a guard.
He just moved to center.
He just moved to center this year, so he's not really a guard anymore. Maybe the Panthers, because I know they have Robert Hunt, and I'm blanking on who their other guard is right now.
Damian Lewis?
Damian Lewis, yes. Damian Lewis, former Seahawk, yeah. Again, I would love to.
But again, let's not emulate the Carolina Panthers.
Right. It's just business. It's one of those positions, and it's the same thing with off-ball linebacker, as Gregory Harrison is asking about Quincy Williams. It's a similar discussion where you just don't see teams pay 2 players at the same position unless that position is a premium position. And the NFL has decided
wide receiver, they paid 2 guys.
Yeah, the NFL has decided that off-ball linebacker and offensive guard are not premium positions.
And running back, as we can get
running back, of course.
Too, yeah.
Yeah, and running back. The NFL teams have decided you don't even pay 1 running back sometimes, let alone 2.
I will say this, though, like on the Brees thing is, I think the paradigm is shifting a little bit, like not totally for a guy like Brees because of Saquon, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, where I think there is a middle ground between you have the old days where you paid a running back and a backup and a fullback and they all got big deals Those days aren't coming back. But there's also now, I think we got too PFF brained where running backs don't matter at all and then nobody paid anybody. And then I think now, as Saquon and Henry showed, I mean, can you find a more valuable free agent signing over the last couple of half decade, outside of Tom Brady maybe to Tampa than Saquon Barkley? I don't think you could find one. So I think there's a middle ground now where running back, I think the way executive view it is, we're probably not going to pay you unless you hit a very exclusive tier, and then we give you what you want. Like Saquon, you get it. Henry, you get it. Josh Jacobs, you get it. Brees is not in that tier. I think he has the talent, if everything goes perfectly rosy this year, to be close to that tier.
Yeah.
With how good he is, with how much they plan to run the ball. I mean, I don't think this is a bold prediction. If he plays all 17 games, he might get 1,500 yards from scrimmage this year. And that's absolutely worth paying for. You could find running backs to have a high floor. 1,500 yards from scrimmage doesn't just fall out of the sky. And they got a guy like that. The problem then is they do want to rotate guys. They supposedly are very interested in Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis. They really want them, unless they're completely blowing smoke up our collective asses, to have a pretty big role this year. So I'm really conflicted on it. That's a true 50-50 toss-up. I think I lean towards paying him. I think they're going to try. I think they are going to do a Douglas thing, though, where they say, all right, we want, like Sauce, we had to pay. We had to give him, a record-setting deal because he's Sauce Gardner. Garrett Wilson, we had to pay because he's Garrett Wilson. I think Mougey might do a Joe Douglas thing and say, Brees, we want you back. This is our absolute limit. If you get more elsewhere, so long, say la vie. This is our absolute limit AAV. We really want you back, but we can't pay $10 million or $11 million, $12 million to a running back of your caliber and try to rebuild this offense.
I don't think there's a player on the Jets roster who has a wider range of possible outcomes for the 2025 season than Brees Hall. That includes someone like a Justin Fields. I just think there's a world where we've seen Brees Hall. After that 2023 season, we talked about this on the show. I thought he was the second best running back in the NFL. I thought he was the second best running back behind Christian McCaffrey. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, again, I wish I could click to another tab and check this, but there was, I believe on that ESPN poll of the top 10 running backs in the NFL going into 2024, I think Brees was second. I think Brees was close on that list.
Looks foolish now, saying put him over.
It does, but that just speaks to the volatile nature of the running back position.
Where would you put him now if you're doing a running back ranking?
15.
Oh, that's 15's too harsh.
Is it? He was.
I would have said I don't know, maybe 9, 10, 11.
No, I don't think he's top 10. I don't think he's top
really.
10. I'm pretty sure.
Well, then you're in the definitely don't pay him, Cam. You don't pay the 15th best running back.
The running back position is one of those positions where it's very much of what have you done for me lately. Like there's other positions where I'm much more willing to give leeway and be like, okay, maybe this was a down year. With running backs, it's not like that. Like a guy can have a crazy. Remember James Robinson rushed for 1,000 yards 2 years later. He's out of the league. Like I know he had the Achilles injury and stuff happens, but it's just so different year by year basis that with someone like Brees Hall, who was amazing in 2023, I thought he was bad. I thought he was below average to bad in 2024 in a lot of ways.
That's not the ideal running back environment to that offense.
No, it wasn't. But, even besides that, I believe he had a negative rushing yards over expected or close to it. He had 6 fumbles, 9 drops. I mean, that's bad independent of his situation, which was bad. And again, we've talked about this ad nauseum at this point. Everyone on the Jets roster regressed last year. It was a bad environment for everyone, unless your names were John Simpson or Jamian Sherwood or whoever.
Devontae Adams.
Devontae Adams still was good, I guess, but almost everybody on the roster regressed. So it's, I'm not going to hold it all against him, but it is still very much what have you done for me lately? So yeah, I think it averages out to the fact that Brees Hall is, if you want to say he's 13, whatever, fine. I don't think he's anything. I don't think he's a top 10 running back, at least not after last year. You can't put him in that conversation, in my opinion. But that's why the range of outcomes is so wide. I would not be surprised if Brees Hall was a top 5 running back this year. Why? Because we've seen him do it before. We've seen him do it in a worse situation. We know he's capable of it, but I also wouldn't be shocked if he's struggling and the Jets are struggling and he's traded by the deadline. I think both are extremely realistic outcomes. So it's impossible for me to sit here now in this is July 16th as we're recording this. I can't predict how the Brees Hall situation is going to end because I don't know what he's going to do in 2025. And I know that sounds like a cop-out answer, but it's speaking also from the Jets' perspective. The Jets aren't going to extend Brees Hall now because they don't know what 2025 holds. Maybe Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis really impress in the summer and they eat into his snaps. And by the deadline, Breece Hall's traded and they try and recoup an asset for him. Or maybe Breece Hall proves like, hey guys, remember 2023? I'm that guy again. I'm that dude. And now we have a good offensive line. And, you know, we don't have Keith Carter coordinating the run game. And we have Justin Fields as a quarterback instead of Aaron Rodgers. I mean, it's a perfect environment for Breece Hall, for any running back to succeed. So I don't know. I just think the range of outcomes is so wide with him. I put him tentatively at like 13 to 15 now, but those running back rankings change drastically every year. So that's the one. And it's honestly, running back position is the one position where it's like rankings are silly, unless you are Derrick Henry or Saquon Barkley, which even that Derrick Henry, you go back 2 years ago, people were saying, Henry's kind of washed. I don't think he's a top 10 running back anymore. Literally 2 years ago, you go back, like people were saying
I think people were assuming because number one, those people are fools, and number two, I think
I'm a fool. I wasn't saying he's totally wild.
I think people, because of the age too, they thought, oh, he's 30, and then he's also just a mega freak, and they discounted the mega freak quotient.
Yep, I did too. I mean, people were saying it about Saquon. You know, the end of his Giants run, it was like, you know what? Honestly, I was in that camp as well, being like, I think not that he's washed, but I think we've seen the best of him. I don't think he's going to be that level again. I was wrong. He was better. He was the best of his entire career.
I think that's the best running back season I've ever seen.
Yes. I mean, again, perfect situation for running back. So maybe Breece Hall, it's the same thing where, you know, last year he was running behind an offensive line that had some injuries, but was okay, but was also being coordinated by Keith Carter. He had Aaron Rodgers as quarterback. The Jets had the 32nd most rush attempts in the NFL. And the Jets were just a dysfunctional mess. So I wouldn't be shocked if all of that, you know, weighed on him and it contributed to his bad year. I'm happy he's being given another opportunity. I know there were a lot of trade rumors around the draft. I'm happy that the Jets kept him because we've seen him be a top 3 running back, top 4 running backs, whatever in the NFL. Maybe he can get back to that level now that he has a great situation around him. I hope he does.
Let's get to some more. I want to keep this discussion going around Breece.
Sure.
Gregory Harrison says 4 years, $48 million for Hall with 35 guaranteed. That's equal to what Josh Jacobs got from the Packers.
Yeah.
Which is, again, a weird situation because Josh Jacobs, 2 years before he signed, led the league in rushing. Then the year before, he was terrible. The Packers took a gamble and said, you know.
And I hated that contract.
Yeah, and then that ended up being fantastic. He ran for 15 touchdowns last year. Thank you to carrying my fantasy team that year. I won the championship. Thank you, Josh Jacobs. You're in my debt. So I there could be something like that too, where the Jets just say, yeah, you were bad, but also you just Josh Jacobs had a bad year. Guys have bad years. And they banked on the talent. I could see that happening. I don't know about $12 million a year for Breece Hall, though. That might be
12 million. Again, it all depends
Jacobs
on what he does.
also, I think, proved more with the Raiders than Hall has done with the Jets so far.
Maybe Hall's 2023 season was great. Although I know people will look at the fact, and it's really stupid because people look at the fact, oh, you know, he didn't rush for 1,000 yards that year, which is so dumb because that was a clerical error on the Jets' part. You know that story, right? Like the Jets.
Oh yeah, they thought he had 1,000 and messed up.
Yeah, they thought he had 1,000, so they took him out of the game, and he actually had 997 or whatever it was.
It's the old Dave Hampton story. Remember that from the Falcons?
It's the same situation.
Well, that was back when 1,000 yards was like that really meant something.
Yeah,
and then he gets 1,000 yards. They keep him in the game after he gets 1,000. And he loses carry, and he gets like 998. And then the next year he has like 997. He's like, "Come on!" And then I think he finally got it, but.
With the 4 years, $48 million, there are only 6 running backs in the NFL right now making $12 million or more a year. That's Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, Alvin Kamara, and Josh Jacobs. Those are your 6 running backs.
And really Kamara is the only one, current state, not what he was, current Kamara, the only one I probably put Hall over.
Right. And Kamara is probably a bit overpaid at this stage, but, you know, he was an amazing player in his prime, and he's still a very productive player.
Yeah, he's just not what he was.
It's just the Saints are just a mess overall. But right behind them, you know, Aaron Jones is making $10 million a year. Joe Mixon's making almost $10 million. James Conner's making $9.5 million. That's a pretty good deal. Like James Conner's.
Would you take Aaron Jones or Breece Hall right now?
Breece. Well, for like just this season, Breece, because I know he has 2 working hamstrings, and I love Aaron Jones, and that's I freaking adore Aaron Jones. He helped me win a fantasy championship. I love that dude, and he also just seems like a wonderful person.
He seems like a cool guy.
Yeah, I would take Breece. I think the ceiling is higher with him, and I know he had the ACL injury, and I guess he was banged up with a knee injury last year, but I think he only missed 1 game. Jones is guaranteed to miss 6-7 games. Like I feel like that's just his MO at this point. Boy, the better it was like James Conner, Breece Hall. I'm taking James Conner. Like that's not a question to me. David Montgomery, who was also making around $9 million. I think that's a conversation. I don't think it would be wrong to say I would take David Montgomery after what happened last year. I would take David Montgomery, But I wouldn't be shocked if Breece Hall was better this
That's
year.
a tough one, actually.
They're very stylistically different players. Like Montgomery's a lot more grinded out. Breece is a home run hitter. He's big, but he's still a home run hitter.
I thought Montgomery was the running back Frankenstein. Remember that
Oh
graphic?
yes. He's the vision
The
of
feet of
Le'Veon,
Saquon, the power of Ezekiel Elliott, or something.
the vision of Le'Veon Bell, like all this stuff. Yes, yes, I remember that. Yeah, so
I will say I'll take credit for. I think I started that meme. Because I was watching them play college football. I remember who they were playing. Play college football. Yeah. And, I think I put the picture up there. I think Ben Solak said, like, they said, what about him? And then I posted the picture, and then he retweeted it. And then the one that kept going viral, I know it was me because it had, like, my dresser that my TV was on underneath it. So I knew it was my picture.
Little Mike Lore. Wow.
Yeah, so
you can see that meme.
Thank me for that.
You can see Mike's dresser if you ever see that meme.
Yeah, or you could look right back there because it's the same one.
There you go. And we can
there it is, right there. That one. The famous one.
Yeah. There you go. Oh, I recognize it. There. So
I will say too, what do you think about this from Cisco? I would think I would trade Breece Hall for some draft picks and a receiver. I don't think we're going to get both, but I think we might get one or the other.
Yeah, you rarely see player for player. I know we just had the Minkah Fitzpatrick, Jalen Ramsey thing, but it's rare to see player for player trades in the NFL. So if Breece is traded at the deadline, it's probably for a pick, it depends on how he's playing, but I imagine if they're trading him at the deadline, it's because he's not particularly playing well, or the Jets have like 1 or 2 wins, or both. So if that's the case, you're probably not getting more than a day 3 pick. Like, you're not getting a day 2 pick. Because the
time to trade him would have been this draft if Genty was there. That would have been the time.
Or in theory, the time to trade him would have been after 2023 when his value was at his peak. But obviously, who in the world would have traded him then? You probably are not getting a lot if you are trading him. Which, it's just unfortunately. I hope it doesn't come to that. I hope Breece Hall has a great season, plays very well, and even if the Jets aren't winning a ton of games, I hope that the offense runs through him and Garrett Wilson and. You're not really even considering trading him. But if you are trading him, I imagine his value is not particularly high. And I think he's a very real candidate to be traded at the deadline if things aren't going well. I don't know if I'd say the same for like a Quincy Williams. I think they're more likely to just let him play out the contract. Breece, though, if they don't plan to extend him, then there's no reason why, he might not get traded.
Really quick though, what do you think about Jermaine too? Because that was the other one.
Jermaine, again, a very similar situation where he's coming off the torn Achilles, and
I just don't know what he's got left.
You need him to. It's going to depend on what he does this year. Obviously, I also don't think they're going to be pressured to extend him next offseason unless he has a great year. If he has a great year and he comes back and he looks healthy from that torn Achilles, then they absolutely could extend him after the season, but he's under contract through 2026. So in theory, they don't have to make a decision on him anytime soon. Unfortunately, the nature of Achilles injuries with edge rushers, as we know from Carl Lawson, it's a lot. It's not the recovery process takes a while, and it's very common to see edge rushers struggle to maintain that same explosiveness in their first year back from an Achilles injury. I hope it's different with Jermaine Johnson. There's no way of us knowing until he is on the field, hopefully week 1. I think he's expected to begin training camp on the PUP list, which, that'll be reported probably within the next week. Jets fans hopefully will not react negatively to that because I'm pretty sure that's almost a given at this point. As long as
Jets fans negative, no way.
Freaking out. Because I'm like, oh my God, he got hurt again. It's like, no, this is standard. I think he'll be ready for week 1. That's the expectation right now. And it all depends on what he does in 2025. If they are extending him after this year, clearly he had a good enough year and clearly he showed enough to keep him around, but I wouldn't be surprised if they don't end up extending him also because they have Will McDonald to worry about as well. And,
Gregory Harrison said, I would save the tag for him. No way, because the tag
way too high.
The tag would pay him an average of the top 5 defensive end salaries. So
actually, wait a minute. He's technically listed as a linebacker, Mike.
So they're going to get into a protracted fight.
So I actually hold on. How did they change the tag to include edge as a position yet?
I think they did some stuff with the tags. I remember that was the thing with Khalil Mack when he wanted to get tagged as a defensive end.
I think they fixed that because currently, you know the reason why they list Jermaine Johnson as a linebacker, by the way?
Why they list him as a linebacker? I don't know. Was it because Scheme related? Why?
There's a very specific reason. I don't know if it's changed, but the specific reason at the time was because he wanted to wear number 11, and he was not eligible to wear number 11 as a defensive end. He could only wear number 11 if he's a defensive end.
Well, what do you mean? That doesn't make any sense.
That was the rules, and I'm pretty sure that's still the rules. But when they initially,
Davian Clowney wore like 24 as a defensive end,
and they might have changed it now. But when it was initially, because when the NFL first started doing that, allowing the diversity of numbers, anybody can wear whatever.
I've seen some with single digits defensive linemen.
That was how it was. I don't know. It probably changed now, but go back to 2023 or 4, whenever he first started wearing 11, because he wasn't 11 his rookie year, right? He was 90 something.
Right? No, he was.
He was 50 something. He was
52. 52.
He was 52 his rookie year. But I am 99. I don't want to be spreading misinformation, but I'm 99% positive. In fact, I remember writing an article about it at the time, a couple of years ago, about why he wore number 11, and that's because he was, or why he was listed as a linebacker, and it's because he needed to wear number 11. Anyway.
Let's talk about some Darren Mougey, because Darren Mougey's first offseason with the Jets is pretty much over now. It's weird to give like a letter grade, because you save A off seasons for seismic trades, going from a terrible team to a great team. Like, that's what you use the A off seasons for. I will give it. I think if I had to give him like a letter grade for this off season, just for me, probably B+, because the two things he had to get done were Sauce and Gardner, or Sauce and Wilson.
Nice.
And Wilson, and you got both of them done. With, as we mentioned before, not the worst deals financial wise. They're both taken care of. The Jets aren't hamstrung by these 2 albatross contracts. You got to give them points for that, but also you don't want to give him too many points, because it's like, well, if he didn't extend them, then all hell would break loose. And it was like a no-brainer slam dunk move. You almost don't want to give him credit for, because you or I would have done that if we were the GM of the Jets. Mm-hmm. But if you look at him, really the only move that I can say, most moves I'm either I like it, varying degrees of liking it, but I like it, or neutral. The only move I really dislike, and we disliked it earlier on, like not outside of like the Arian Smith pick, which we think is, I don't think it's an amazing pick, but it's a 4th round pick. Who cares? And we look more at the draft class in totality than just individual picks. Is the Brandon Stevens contract. That's really the only one, especially after the Azareye'h Thomas pick, where now he has to play outside. Where's Brandon Stevens going to play? If they didn't sign Brandon Stevens, and they allocated that money elsewhere, maybe to a little more higher upside defensive tackle instead of a bunch of 1-year veteran stopgaps, Derek Nottie, Brian Cowart. Well, somebody's got to be good. Then I think he moves into the A- tier. But this is a pretty good offseason. I know Joe Douglas won a ton of offseasons. I know Ryan Poles wins a lot of offseasons, and Trent Baalke won a lot of offseasons. I know that happens a lot, but we can only go on what we think the moves are going to look like, and I'm pretty happy with what we've seen from Darren Mougey so far.
I would almost be willing to, I'll say A-, partially to be different, because I was leaning B+ and A-. I'll say A- if I'm going to grade it, mostly because the big things that I wanted to get done, the most important things, have happened. First, the extensions. I think that is second most important, but I'll leave first most important for a second. But the second most important thing was getting those extensions done with Sauce Gardner, and more importantly, Garrett Wilson. Again, I cannot stress enough how much 6-7 months ago I was like on the fence and being like, well, there's a real good chance that Garrett Wilson has played his last game as a Jet. So not only being able to salvage that relationship, get him to not request a trade, to keep him on the roster, but then to also extend him through 2030 along with Sauce Gardner, that is a significant development that is best case scenario. What that was best case scenario when Darren Mougey and Aaron Glenn took over, was that with Garrett Wilson, they would be able to get him to not only buy into the new regime, but to extend him as far into the future as possible. I mean, 6 years essentially of team control for both Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner is exceeding even my expectations for what both of those extensions would be. So that's number one. Number two, they signed my quarterback of choice. They did exactly what I wanted them to do at quarterback. They moved on from Aaron Rodgers, which was also not a given. That was not a formality. There were
legitimate. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, they moved on pretty quickly, but it was not just everybody assumes there's going to do that. There was a lot of Rodgers.
Half the fan base wanted Aaron Rodgers back. When Aaron Glenn and Darren Mougey were first signed or first hired, the first topic was, what are they going to do at quarterback? Will they
Aaron
bring
Glenn
back
didn't
Aaron
even
Rodgers?
let them ask the questions. He said, all right, before I know you're going to ask this, here's what we're doing with Aaron Rodgers, which I really like that.
Yeah, and they did exactly what I wanted them to do. They cut bait with Aaron Rodgers, and then they signed the quarterback that I wanted them to sign, which was Justin Fields. We had extensive conversations about this in the offseason, but there were a lot of names that they could have gone after, and I think they've settled on the guy who I thought was the high upside bridge quarterback, which is what they should have been targeting. So they did those two things. Even the drafts, I thought that, you could point to maybe day 3 and say they could have done a few other things. They could have drafted a D tackle. They could have, I did not like the Arian Smith pick. I think they could have gone in a different direction, a wide receiver there, but their first 2 picks, their most important picks. I mean, if you put in you looked at Jets mock drafts going back to April, the beginning of April, and you looked at Jets mock draft first 2 rounds and it said Armand Membu and Mason Taylor, I think every Jets fan or almost every Jets fan would have been ecstatic about that.
That was like the chalk pick. Like it was
those were like the popular picks, and those are the picks that I wanted. I was on the Membu train from day one. I also had a little Genty love, but I was on the Membu train for a while, since really the combine, and maybe even before that. I was saying, hey, I want Armand Membu at 7, where the Jets are picking. They did that. Then they drafted a tight end who I liked a lot, in Mason Taylor, in the 2nd round. So the big thing.
Sign him.
What was that? What was that?
I just hope they sign him.
I know. Yeah, that's all. We haven't really gotten to talk about that. That's a whole weird situation. I'm assuming the 2nd round stuff gets sorted out, but it is bizarre how league wide that is, and
how dug in everybody is on it.
Well, it's going to come down to Tyler Shuck and that whole. We don't need to rehash that whole situation, but the Saints are kind of holding it up, and the Texans screwed everyone with the Jaden Higgins contract. But anyway,
obviously you never feel bad for Quinshon Judkins because he's an idiot, but
yes.
They signed Schlesinger gets fully guaranteed.
Oh, true.
33. He's like 2 picks later. They won't pay. Now we know why they won't pay him, because he's a moron. But
now who the hell knows?
Now we don't know, but yeah.
But the Jets hit on
why not me? Like I got picked like right after him.
Right. But the Jets hit on the things that I want them to do. Yes, I have an issue with the Brandon Stevens signing. I don't like that signing. I didn't like the Arian Smith pick, and maybe they could have done different things in day 3 of the draft. And maybe they could have brought in another D tackle that wasn't Byron Coward or J. Tufele or whoever, right? But the biggest and most important parts of the offseason, I think they nailed. Like, I think they did exactly how I would have wanted them to do. Now, I did say this last year as well, and I was very much on record being like, yeah, Jets got to sign Tyron Smith. They got to sign Mike Williams. So you know what? Possibly another instance of the Jets being offseason champs. I can't discount.
You know who else said to do that, though? Everyone.
I know.
Everyone.
So you can't discount this being another situation of the Jets just being offseason champs. But I'll give him an A- because I think Darren Mougey has nailed his first 6 months in the job. Still a long way to go. Still probably don't have a quarterback solution on the roster. Still a lot of weak spots on this team, and the wide receiver room outside of Garrett Wilson's terrible. Their D-line depth is non-existent. Like, they're going to have to, do a lot more with this team over the next couple of years to get them to be competitive. But dare I say it, Mike? Dare I say that I'm invested again? Dare I say that the Jets may be back?
I think I'm out.
They every time, dude. I just put that GIF or that video on Twitter. Like, every time I think I'm
Scent of a Woman, I think was that movie.
I don't know. I've never seen it. I've just seen the video. I don't even know where it's from. But like, I've been kind of not to peel back the curtain too much.
It's Godfather 3. What the hell am I talking about? Scent of a Woman. Jeez.
Sure. Oh, man.
Godfather 3.
Revoke your Italian card, Luch. What the hell?
It's 3. you watch 1 and 2. I mean, 3 is just
actually
okay.
3. I've heard bad things about 3. I've never seen it.
It's not bad. It's a good movie compared to
I've seen the first 2.
Bam Bam All-Timers.
But yeah, I just, I think that the things that I wanted them to do, they did well. And the Jets might be back, man. I was going to say, not to peel back the curtain a little too much. I've been kind of not invested as much in the Jets recently. Look, I'm a big Knicks fan. I've been very into the Knicks over the last 6 months, right? The Jets have been, for the sake of my own mental
fired coaches just strewn in your wake.
Was that?
Fired coaches just strewn in your wake here.
Hey, listen, we don't got to get on the Tibbs conversation again. I will go on a 20-minute rant right now why it was the correct decision. But I've been, for the sake of my own mental health, deprioritizing the Jets in terms of my investment calendar.
That's a good sign for your football team.
Well, obviously it's still my job, and I still love this team, and I have to, right? Because it's my job, and 2, because I'm a fan, and
legally obligated fun. Yes.
But I am invested in this team as well. But I haven't been as invested in the past. This week, for the first time in a while, I feel things again, Mike. I'm feeling stuff that's not apathy about this football team. Don't give me that face. Don't do that shit. This isn't Jet Press After Dark yet. Don't do that.
It's getting close.
I'm not feeling apathetic about the New York Jets. And that's a really good feeling. It's a scary feeling because I know I'm going to get hurt again. But I'm happy that this week I've been able to celebrate being a fan of this team again and be like, you know what? Today's a good day to be a fan of the New York Jets. And we don't have many of those days. It's very rare that we get to say, oh, you know what? Today is a good day to be a fan of this football team. But here I am sitting here and I'm kind of back. They've pulled me back in, Mike. I don't like it.
Let's get to a couple quick comments before we kind of wrap things up here on this episode. Cisco gives the Jets a B for
I go a little higher, but I get it. Like they didn't.
I guess if you really don't like, I mean, I don't like Stevens either, but if you're really against it, I could see why that's going to be the hinge point for this.
They also didn't do anything groundbreaking. Like it's honestly a hard offseason to grade because how many big moves did the Jets make? Like the biggest moves they made were like moving on from players or extending their own. In terms of outside additions, you know, the Armand Memo in the draft, Mason Taylor, Zaire Thomas, whatever. They signed 2 players to multi-year contracts. That's it. 3 players total who are probably going to be who are actual more than just veteran flyers. Brandon Stevens, Justin Fields, Andre Cisco. That's it. Anyone else
is guaranteed next to nothing if he's bad this year. So
right, and Cisco's on a 1-year deal. Right, like so the only investment they really made was Brandon Stevens, who we don't particularly like. But you know, I get why you can give it a B because they didn't really do anything crazy this offseason.
We got a crazy, I wouldn't say a crazy take. I would say rather an unusual take because Gregory Harris said he's doing a good job overall, good draft. I give him an A for the 4th round, but a B+ overall.
Wait.
This guy loves Arian Smith.
Didn't Gregory also love Malachi Corley?
No, that was Gregory Freeman.
Oh, who said that?
Gregory Harrison.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry.
We got too many Gregories.
Mixing up our Gregories on Facebook. My bad. Well, I don't love Arian Smith. I'm sorry. Oh God. Brian says, what do Arian Smith, Javon Baker, D.D. Westbrook?
Who would have thought Javon Baker would have been?
Shut up. Hey now, listen. We all have our misses. Okay. And at least the Jets didn't draft him. It's not a Jets miss. We don't.
Oh my God. I have so many misses.
Reggie Barlow. Why do I not remember who Reggie Barlow is? Who is Reggie Barlow?
Oh, well, no, that was Kevin Barlow. Never mind. Was he with the Niners?
I don't know. I wish I could look in another tab instead of looking on my phone. Reggie.
Oh, I remember him. Yeah.
Oh, he's a little older.
Jags.
Wow, that's a pull. Reggie Barlow's a pull there.
That is a pull, man.
Were they all 4th round picks? They're probably all 4. Yeah, they're all 4th round picks because I know the others were. D.D. Westbrook.
D.D. Westbrook. I know they're all skinny too.
I haven't thought of D.D. Westbrook in forever, dude.
Is Day or D.D. or
is it Day Westbrook? He was with the Jags, right?
Yeah, he was at Oklahoma, I think Baker's last year and caught like 900 passes.
He won the Biletnikoff, yeah.
He did win the Biletnikoff, and then they're like, oh, he weighs like 140 pounds. Oh wow, the last 4 receivers taken with pick 110. That's a good
trivia fact. We could have gotten there. We could have got because
we couldn't have. Are you serious?
I knew they're all 4th round pick. Well, okay. Once I looked
they're all 110.
Once I saw that Reggie Barlow was a 4th round pick, I knew they were all 4th round picks because I knew the others were. But we could have. Maybe we could have.
No.
Maybe. Little Jet Press trivia. I don't know.
We struggled to remember some things about the depth chart without looking it up on the screen.
No, I don't.
I do. I do. So
I bet not that we're going to do this now. I bet if you gave me 10 minutes, I can name everyone on the 90-man roster right now. I bet I could do it. Not that we're going to try that because that's not entertaining podcasting. Maybe
the world's least impressive party trick.
As I'm sitting here being like,
Jets practice squad.
As I'm sitting here being like, tight end Neil Johnson, wide receiver Ontario Wilson. Like, it's not interesting at all.
As I get a concussion when my head slams into my desk.
Totally not interesting. And it's also useless information because half these dudes are going to be gone and not going to be relevant in a couple of months anyway. In like a month, literally.
If Arian Smith can emulate the on-field part of Westbrook, he'd be a good pick. Yes, Westbrook was not brought down by his play style. Well, that and he went to the bad.
Wait, what was it? Off-field stuff? What happened with him?
He had some off-field stuff.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
he just like
and he went to the black hole pre-Trevor Lawrence Jags.
He tore his ACL. That hurt. He had a career high 130 yards though against the Jets in Week 4 of 2018.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Look at that.
That sounds in 2018. Oh God, who was covering him then?
2018 was that who the hell would have been that was Tremaine Johnson, right? Was 2018 Tremaine Johnson?
That might have been.
Was Morris Claiborne still kicking around then? No, that's the guy.
Morris Claiborne and his 4 on the Wonderlic. So that was the last year of bowls.
So yeah, Claiborne and
Claiborne.
Tremaine. Was it
Buster Screen, our old buddy.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, Tremaine Johnson, Daryl Roberts.
Was Marcus Williams, or was he gone? He was gone by then, right?
Marcus Williams was gone by then.
So if Daryl Roberts was there, Justin Burris, was he still there?
Perry Nickerson was there.
Perry Nickerson. I think I've mentioned this before on the podcast. Weirdly, the other time his name has come up. I'm friends with Perry Nickerson on Facebook.
Remember Rashard Robinson?
Yeah, absolutely. Lanky corner. They got him from the Niners, right?
Yeah, I think he had something. I think he was supposed to be a first-round pick and he fell because
I believe he was suspended. I believe he had
that might have been it. Yeah, Terrence Brooks. There's some throwbacks.
Brooks, safety. He had didn't he have like a touchdown with the Jets or something like that I'm remembering? But I know he was.
Terrence Brooks score a touchdown with the Jets.
I think he did. Or like a safety
interception. No, nope, incorrect.
Damn, what did he do? I know Terrence.
Nothing. That's why.
Oh, he did something. He was a safety. Anyway, now that we're looking through the 2018 Jets defensive.
Let's call time on this episode of the Jet Press podcast. If nothing else, for the next few years, Sauce Gardner is a Jet and Garrett Wilson's a Jet, and you got to feel good about that. Thank you guys for tuning in. You know where to find us on all the podcast platforms: Apple, Google, Spotify, Overcast, wherever you get your podcasts. We are there, and we are on YouTube. Subscribe, like, 99-cent membership. All those things can help support the show. Justin, any final thoughts?
I realized I made a mistake of clicking off the tab, so I think my audio is now desynced, and we'll figure that out after we leave the show. But anyway, until next time. Final thoughts. Today's a good day to be a Jets fan, Mike. Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, both under contract for the next 6 years. It's been a long time coming, and it's been a long time since we've been able to feel good about this football team. I know I just said a lot of this stuff now, but I'm just reiterating, and I'm reiterating that I feel happy about the Jets. And I don't know how many days that I'm going to feel happy about the Jets over the next 6 months, but today is a day that I feel happy to be a New York Jets fan. And I hope everyone in this chat and everyone watching at home and whoever is going to see this clip in the future, I hope they can feel the same. Oh, my audio is good now. Okay, restream. Thank you. Would have been nice to know that earlier. But yeah, until next time, thank you all for joining us on the show today. You can follow Mike on Twitter at @MikeLuciano. Follow me on Twitter at Justin T. Fried. Follow Jet Press at the Jet Press. Download the Jet Press podcast wherever you get your podcast. Check us out on YouTube. Subscribe, hit the notification bell. You can also become a member today. It is 99 cents. It's a great way to help support the show, and you get your comments prioritized in chat. Or you can be like our friend Austrian Jets fan, who again we will shout him out in perpetuity. He donated 50 memberships last week. Ridiculous. Thank you so much for that. We stream live every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern time. Thank you all for listening to Jet Press Podcast. I've been Justin Fried. That is Mike Luciano. See you guys next week.
See you folks next week when training camp starts to ramp up.